Hello everyone, and welcome to another interesting game from the 2018 European Club Cup. It's a game a lot of you have requested me to show, and also I received some very nice footage from Niki Riga, so it would be a shame not to show such a lovely game. It's a game between Ding Liren and Peter Svidler, and prior to this game, Ding is on a 90-game unbeaten streak, so this is, if he manages to survive this game, it will be his 91st game that he goes without being defeated. Last one was against Anish Giri last year in September, as we already mentioned. And here we have a score between Ding Liren and Peter Svidler so far. So far in classical games, Ding Liren beat Svidler 2-1 with 4 draws. So here Svidler has a very nice chance to equalize. And also, if you consider rapid and exhibition games, it's 2-1 with 5 draws, so 1 rapid game was drawn. A lot of you have asked me where do I find scores on mutual encounters. I look for it on chessgames.com, so I'll put a link to it in the description below. If you want, you can just type any player against any player and you will have their official scores. I don't think... I don't know if the database is like fully filled, but so far I think it was pretty good. So like I said, I did receive some very nice footage. So here I even lowered the volume even more. So we'll see. We'll get there. Here we have some nice footage of Ding Liren. There you have it. Taking a peek at Svidler now and then. It's already from the end game, but it will be a very interesting game. See, every now and then he takes a peek. And also we have some very nice footage of Svidler. There you have it. Someone mentioned that the lagging during the video is because Niki was taking photos during the video. But I actually think it's due to my poor PC configuration. So there you have it. Now let's check out this very nice game. So Ding has the white pieces and he opens with d4. We have knight to f6. c4 and now g6. The King's Indian is on the board, and here with knight to c3 and the d5 we could transpose into a Grunfeld defense, but Ding knows that Svidler is one of the greatest Grunfeld players that are currently playing, so he avoids it. He plays f3 here. It's something called the anti-Grunfeld defense, the anti-Grunfeld system. We have knight to c6 by Svidler and now d5, grabbing more space. Knight to e5 and now e4. So now not uncommon. White has this very nice pawn chain in the center, but Svidler has 2 knights already developed. We have d6 and now comes knight to c3. c6 by Svidler and now f4, kicking the knight even further back. Knight e to d7. Now as the pawn advanced from f3 to f4, the e4 pawn is now somewhat weak. Svidler goes back with the knight, prepares knight to c5 to pressure the e4 pawn from here. And here a known game was from 2010 from the Chess Olympiad, Kramnik versus Navarra, where Kramnik played bishop to e3. To wait this knight to come to c5, but Ding has a different idea. He prepared knight to h3, and now he's ready to meet Svidler's knight to c5, which was played in the game with knight to f2, now guarding the e4 pawn twice with both knights. So a very funny situation here, where the e4 pawn is attacked twice by the knights and also guarded twice by the knights. There we have it, bishop to g7 by Svidler, developing the bishop, preparing the castle, and now bishop to e2. We have castles by Svidler, bishop to e3, and now pawn captures on d5. C captures on d5 and queen to a5. Now the c3 pawn is pinned, and definitely knight captures on e4 is a threat. We have castles here and bishop to d7. Svidler develops a bishop, and now comes e5. It's one of those moments where you don't think that e5 is coming, and you always have to take e5 into consideration, but this is one of the moments where it can definitely happen. Ding pushes e5, and we have knight to e8. Capturing doesn't really give anything to black. White will simply now capture here. He will have a very nice pawn chain in the center. A knight will still have to go to e8, and after bishop to d4, it will be simply a much better and much more enjoyable position for white. After e5, knight to e8, and now comes queen to d4. A very nice centralizing move by the queen. The queen is the d4 is an excellent square for the queen, and now you can never even capture here because the knight is now attacked twice by the queen and the bishop. So knight to a4. Svidler wants to exchange some pieces. We have knight captures on a4, queen captures on a4, offering a trade of queens, and now rook a to c1. Ding doesn't mind. Here it seems like Ding is offering the a2 pawn, but a2 pawn is it's somewhat of a poisoned pawn, because if you capture it, then comes rook to a1, attacking the queen, and after queen to b3, now comes bishop to d1, again attacking the queen. After d captures on e5, attacking white's queen, f captures on e5, now you have a problem. You can either play queen to b4, or you can go queen to b6, but whatever you do, for example, even if you go, let's say, queen to b6, captures, and now your rook is unguarded. And if you play something like queen to b5, then the problem is bishop to a4. Now you lose the bishop on d7. When you move the queen, captures, okay, now you don't lose the rook, but you lose the undefended bishop here. And yeah, queen to b4 it doesn't work for obvious reasons, as the b4 is guarded by the queen. So after rook a to c1, of course you cannot capture the pawn. Queen to a5. Svidler avoids the trade of queens, and he wants to trade down even more pieces. So okay, knight to e4. A very nice centralizing move by the knight. Probably Ding had this in mind when he played this knight to h3, knowing that it will come to f2, and at some point that it can come to e4. So knight to h3 seems like a very nice plan in this variation. Bishop to b5, hoping to exchange more pieces. Bishop captures, queen captures, and now b3, simply improving the structure of the pawns on the queen side, and d captures on e5. Here, rook to d8 was definitely an idea. But this is the problem: you don't gain any control over the c file, and your rooks are still not connected. So instead, Svidler finds a very nice plan how to get the knight back into the game, and also connect rooks by even controlling the c file. He plays d captures on e5. We have f captures on e5, and now knight to d6. As the e5 pawn is pinned, you cannot capture the knight. Now the knight is nicely developed. In the future, it can either exchange here or come to f5, and the rooks are now connected, so rook is definitely coming to c8. Bishop to f4, controlling the e5 pawn, and now comes rook a to c8, as we've already mentioned. Knight to c3, we have queen to a5, now with a double attack against the c3 knight, but also, as you can see, the bishop is also sort of eyeing this knight on c3. We have queen to d3 here, and here Svidler played knight to f5, as now this was definitely an idea. But also an interesting move was e6, with the idea that if pawn captures here, that you can capture on c3, because now both the queen, rook, and the bishop are controlling the c3 square. The problem is, after rook captures, and bishop captures, black didn't really gain all that much. For example, rook to c1, attacking the bishop, bishop checks, king f1, and now rook to d8, attacking the pawn. But now you get a lot of activity with this rook to c7 move, and e5 will not help you, as you will not be able to win the pawn due to bishop to h6, now controlling all of these very nice dark squares, and now, of course, rook captures is impossible due to back rank issues such as checkmate. So after queen to d3, knight to f5 by Svidler, and now you have g4. If you remember, in the previous game, Carlsen missed a very nice opportunity to play g4, that supercomputer line we've mentioned, but here in this game, Ding does not miss his opportunity to push g4. Okay, queen to b6 check, and now king to h1, and now comes queen to d4. Svidler finds a way to hopefully exchange queens here and getting his knight to a useful square. But Ding, of course, refuses this. Queen to e4, he wants to trade queens, but on e4, and the knight will still have to find a nice square. So okay, queen captures, knight captures, and now knight to d4. Rook c to d1, attacking the knight. We have knight to e2, and now comes bishop to g5. And here black has a lot of problems here. d6 is definitely coming at some point. Now here, as Ding is threatening to capture the e7 pawn, and it's not all that clear how to prevent it. For example, if you play rook f to e8, defending the e7 pawn, then d6 is a very strong move. Already you're threatening d7 with an attack against both rooks. Captures. Even if you capture the knight, it will not help you. d7, and the bishop is controlling the d8 square. White is completely winning here. On the other hand, you can also try to play rook c to e8, but still it will not help you. If you play rook d to c8, then the rook is no longer controlling the c file, and the c3 square was a very important retreat square for this knight. So now you can simply attack it, and the knight doesn't have anywhere to go. You have to play f5, attack white's knight here, and after g captures, now you capture on e2, and after f captures here, then you play d6. Captures, and again it will be impossible to prevent the d7, and the bishop is guarding the queening square here. If you want to block with the bishop to f6, now you get bishop to h6, attacking the rook to f7, and now rook to g1 check. King has to go to h8, and now rook to f2. Threatening a lot of nasty ideas like rook captures here, and bishop to g7, picking up the other rook. So after rook e6 blocking, now you get rook to c1, threatening rook to c8 check. So after rook goes back, now you have this very nice d7 move, and after captures, you simply win a piece. This is only one of the problems black faces here in figuring out how to defend this e7 pawn, either with this rook or with this rook. So Svidler finds a different way. He decides to sort of temporarily give up a pawn, but as you'll see, it will not be temporarily. He plays f6 here. And okay, e captures on f6, pawn captures, and now knight captures, grabbing a pawn. Bishop captures, and now knight to c3. And here you have this idea where, of course, you can capture here, but then white would give up a very strong bishop. And also you can see that the knight is attacking the a2 pawn here. And also the rook on d1. But here Ding plays a very strong move, rook to d4. It doesn't allow this knight to go anywhere. And here we have rook c to d8 with a double attack against the d5 pawn, giving up the exchange, but only temporarily. Bishop captures, rook captures on f1 with check, king to g2, attacking the rook. Rook goes back to f7, and now comes d6, so advancing his passed pawn. And here rook to d7. So this is everything, both of them calculated at that point that Svidler decided to play f6. And here we have bishop to g5, as the bishop was under attack. And this is the critical moment of the game. Here black has to play king to f7, and he is still very much in the game. The a2 pawn is under attack. After you advance it, king is coming to e6. Already with such an active king, black definitely has chances of fighting this out to a draw, even being a pawn down. But here Svidler played knight captures on a2, and the knight captures on a2 is a move one would not make in this position if you just had this position and then someone told you find a move here. It's a move that Svidler most likely saw when he played f6, and then he calculated all the way here. He saw that he would grab a pawn back, he would not be down in material, and all would be well. But feel free to pause the video here and try to take advantage of this knight to a2 move as white. I'll give you a couple of seconds for you to decide whether you want to do it or not. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations. You are an excellent endgame player. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, here Ding played bishop to d2. And now you immediately get the idea of what's going on. You have this famous relationship between a bishop and the knight. When the bishop and knight are apart 2 squares, then the bishop is controlling all of the squares that the knight can jump to. So the knight can't go anywhere, the knight is trapped. Of course, the threat is now rook to a4 and rook to a2, capturing the knight. So you can't really prevent this. If you try a5 here, with the idea of creating an escape square for the knight, simply bishop captures, you have to waste a pawn here to create an escape route for your knight, but then again you will not be equal in material. And on the other hand, after this bishop to d2 move, Svidler tried b5. Controlling the a4 square. Now rook to a4 is not possible, but here Ding finds a different idea. So feel free to pause the video here and try to find the next move that is actually winning for white. For those of you who were able to do it, once again, congratulations, you are an excellent endgame player. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, b4 is the move Ding played. I kind of gave you a little hint because I kind of wiggled it around a bit, but you know, I never usually give you hints, so I guess it's not that terrible. And now there's really no defense against what's coming. Simply rook to d3, rook to a3, and picking up the knight. There's no avoiding this. Svidler played king to f7, and after rook to d3, Svidler resigned the game on move 41 when the time control was finally reached. There's no way around it. If you try something like a5, pawn captures, and now b4 to create some squares for the knight here, it doesn't work because simply a6. And now after knight to c3, a7 is coming. Once rook captures it, now d7 is coming, and there is no stopping this pawn from queening. Well, rather there is, but you would have to give up a rook, for example. Rook captures, you are down a piece. There's no way to push the pawn because bishop captures, and it is all over. So yeah, very nice game by Ding Liren, and yeah, probably it was this knight captures on a2 move. Probably something Svidler calculated while he decided to defend via f6, but there was no other way. As you've seen, defending the e7 pawn was not possible via any of the rooks, and then f6 was a must, but here you simply cannot capture it. You have to bring the king into the game, and you can still fight. So yeah, an excellent game, and with this game, Ding Liren is now on a 91-game unbeaten streak. As you know, often it is mentioned that Mikhail Tal holds the world record for an unbeaten streak with 95 games of being unbeaten, but it is actually Sergei Tivyakov who holds the record with 110 games. I do not have this confirmed, and a lot of times when people are talking about this, they say that Tivyakov claims that he has this, and I haven't seen it like confirmed anywhere, but if he says it, I believe it is true. So Ding has 4 more games to reach Tal's record, but he has to reach 110 games to reach Tivyakov's record. So yeah, that's the game, Ding Liren versus Peter Svidler in the 2018 European Club Cup. I do hope you enjoyed it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon with some more interesting games from the this European Club Cup. We'll see how Carlsen manages his game with against Mamedyarov, and also we are returning to the Bobby Fischer series, of course. Thank you all, and I'll see you soon.